Everybody ready? Very good. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Virginia City Council meeting. This is a regularly scheduled council meeting. Call this meeting to order. Today's date is Tuesday, July 26th, 2022, 5:30 p.m. We have members of the audience, and thank you for coming to the council meeting this evening. And we'll ask Pam to please take the roll call.
Baraboo,
Present.
Friedlieb,
Here.
Paulson is absent. Beyondich,
Present.
Johnson,
Here.
Caranzelli, Cuffey.
Present. Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll call on to item 4 on the agenda, which is a public forum. This is an opportunity for anybody who's in the audience that'd like to address the council meeting this evening. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to do so? Please come forward at this time. Seeing none, we'll move to item 4.1 on the agenda, which is adopt the resolution ordering the improvement and directing preparation of final plans and specifications for the 2023 street improvement project. We just had a public hearing just prior to the council meeting, and with respect to that, looking for council action.
I will move the resolution.
Councilor Johnson moves to approve the resolution, and it's supported by Councilor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Move to item 5, the consent agenda. The following items will be enacted by one motion unless a councilor or a citizen of the City of Virginia requests that this item be considered separately. Item 5.1 is the approval, correction of the minutes of the regular meeting that was held on July 12, 2022. 5.2 is the adoption of Finance Resolution Number 22-014, the schedule of bills. Item 5.3 is approve the exempt permit for the Iron Range Rotary Club to conduct a raffle on September 15th, 2022 at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center. Item 5.4 is approve the final pay estimate to George Bugalis and Sons for the Bailey's Lake Trail Improvement Project in the amount of $21,366.93. And item 5.5, which is the final item on the consent agenda, approve the following travel requests. Jacob Keel from the Fire Department to attend the Fire Investigation Part 1 school on July 31st through August 5th, 2022 in Lino Lakes, Minnesota at a cost of $1,315. Item 5.5B, Jesse Holacek, police officer, to attend the Storm Training Group on September 22nd and 23rd in Duluth, Minnesota, at a cost of $626.45. Item 5.5C, Don Scott and Lori Perez from the City Administration and Finance Office to attend the CASEL Annual Conference and Training in Salt Lake City, Utah, at a cost of $1,963 each. And item 5.5D, library staff to be able to attend the Minnesota Library Association Annual Conference in Duluth, Minnesota, October 28th through the 29th, 2022, at a cost of $1,890.63. These are the consent items that are on the agenda this evening. Looking for council action.
I'll move the approval of the consent agenda as documented.
Council freely moves to approve the consent agenda as read. Is there support? Supported by Councilor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6, appearances. There is no one scheduled to appear this evening, but this is once again the opportunity for someone from the audience to speak before the council. You're welcome to come forward if you wish. Seeing none, we'll move to item 7, which is unfinished business. Item 7.1, the property located at 410 Fifth Street South. This has been on our agenda for unfinished business for quite a long period of time. We're getting close to hopefully some other action as a result. And I would ask our city attorney, Brian Lindsay, if he has any further information regarding this.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have something of an update. We have identified an independent inspector who comes from outside of the city and has no connection to really the Iron Range area too much at all to conduct the inspection, and we have reached out. We're trying to get a hold of Mr. Toman to schedule a time to go in for that inspection.
Okay, thank you. And the time frame that's remaining in before it triggers some additional action on the part of the city is how many days do we have left? Mr. Kingsley is right on the ball, 15 days. Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. Okay. The countdown is 15 days, so thank you very much. Okay, any other questions or concerns or comments regarding this property? Councilor Johnson.
So if we're struggling to get an appointment made prior to the end of the 15 days, on day 16, can we just go in and inspect it, or do we still have to make arrangements to go in with him? I mean, I'm concerned that on day 16, we're going to be back here on day 27, and we're still trying to make arrangements. What happens as that goes forward?
Mr. Lindsay?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor, in answer to that question, we're trying to coordinate and get permission for the inspection because it's the easier route. If we haven't gotten a permission for an inspection on that last day, the alternative route would be to get an administrative warrant, which would give us entry into the property to do the inspection. We hope not to go that direction, but it is available if it's needed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. Are you able to let us know who that would be, who would be doing the inspection? Or are you not at liberty to say?
Well, we have a signed agreement with them. I don't know that I want to announce that quite yet.
So there is no signed agreement with them yet?
We need a date. I need a date of inspection to get that signed agreement done with the inspector.
Okay. When you receive that, are you able to share that with us?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Councilor Beyondich. Any other questions, comments regarding this matter? Please, Mr. Kingsley, please come forward. Once again, we know who you are, but for the record, please state your name.
Bruce Kingsley.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Thank you. So if we have to go the warrant route, how long of a process is that? How much of a delay?
Mr. Lindsay?
Thank you. To go through the court process, it would probably take a couple of days.
Oh, okay, good. That's all I had for you.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kingsley. Okay, anything else regarding this matter? Okay, we'll go to item 7.2, which is the clinic lease. Do we have any other information? Britt, you have anything you can share with us?
Yeah, the engineers were there last Friday. They're still working on their report to get back to us on the remaining items that need to be done for the insurance claim from 2014 through 2016. We don't have that information quite yet, but we are working on it.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the council, questions about the progress being made through administration? Okay, thank you. Seeing none, we'll move to item 7.3, which is the rental code ordinance, getting closer and closer to the adoption. And I would like to ask Mr. John Sullivan if he has any other information or any updates or anything you'd like to share with respect to the rental code ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. I really don't have too much other than the public hearings that we scheduled were wrapped up and completed. And I'm putting together a report based on the summary of the comments and, the feedback we got through that process. Last week, I went to the city of Grand Rapids and spent time with their staff at their brand new fire department, I might add. And they were very helpful. And they're reviewing our draft ordinance right now and going to provide some comments from their side because Grand Rapids just fully finished their first year after adopting it So they've learned a lot of things, and I took a lot of notes, so I'm going to incorporate what I learned from them into our proposed ordinance. So I keep getting comments, by the way, from mostly landlords, regarding the draft ordinance, but so it's moving along.
Thank you, John. Any questions for staff or any more information to share regarding as we move forward with the rental code ordinance? Seeing none, thank you very much, John. Move to item 7.4 is under unfinished business is approve the final reading of the ordinance entitled Management of Public Right-of-Way. And you have, give us a little synopsis, actually, for the general public and a little replay for us about the purpose of this ordinance.
This ordinance is in regards of placement of private utilities within the city right-of-way and to ensure that contractors are licensed, insured, and/or bonded, and that the work that they do will be replaced, that any digging that they do into the boulevards and the right-of-ways will be put back to the standard it was before.
Thank you, Britt. Council?
I will move the second reading.
Councilor Johnson moves to approve the second reading of which is the final reading of the ordinance entitled Management of Public Right-of-Way. Is there support?
I'll support, Mayor.
Support by Councilor Baraboo. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. In item 7.5, which is the final item under unfinished business, is the fire chief job description. We have any updates on that draft moving forward? Britt?
In your packet is the updated job description, the request that we had from the last committee of the whole meeting.
And I read through it a couple of times, and it seems to incorporate the recommended changes and questions that the council had with respect to this. So looking for council input about that. Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. Does the staff feel that this is the best, this is going to get us the best qualified candidates and will help us move forward in this position? I will move the updated job description.
Councilor Johnson moves to approve the updated job description for the fire chief. Is there support? Is there support?
All support for discussion.
Support by Councilor Freely for discussion. Further discussion. Councilor Freely.
Do note, number 28, that there's a recommendation that they must reside within a distance that allows for a reasonable response time in order to respond to emergency calls. Has a distance been determined, and would this potentially preclude somebody from holding that position based on where they currently live?
I will refer to, let's refer to the city attorney, Brian Lindsay, for that. I think there's some case law that actually doesn't actually spell out reasonable amount of time, but gives a little bit of a guideline. Brian?
And Mayor, you're correct. Reasonable response time or the reasonable distance is something that is not a set number per se. It has to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. The courts have issued some decisions that give us some guidelines on that, but it's not a hard and fast number. And I guess the answer to the second question, depending on the case-by-case analysis of both the nature of the job, the specific circumstances, the ease of travel, the amount of expected traffic, all of those things can be considerations that look at what a reasonable distance, a reasonable response time is, and the ability to achieve that. So theoretically, that restriction could disqualify some people, but it makes it a little easier than it would be to have a hard and fast number or distance, because each applicant, I think, could say, well, I feel I can make it in a reasonable time and give the explanation of why that is.
And has that been covered with, like, current staff? Because my concern would be that it could eliminate potential personnel.
We do have current staff that do not live anywhere in our area code, and that might not be reasonable. If you live in the metro area and you work with us, that might not be a reasonable distance that would preclude you from being part of the candidate pool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Freely. It has been moved and supported to approve the job description for the fire chief as presented tonight by staff. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Beyondich.
Having said that, do we have personnel that would be able to step in if somebody was not able to respond?
Yes.
I'm not sure what a reasonable response time means or doesn't mean.
The 2022 statutes is very vague. It says specifically what we just wrote in there, that you have to require a reasonable response time.
And if I may, the goal and objective here is to get them to respond as quickly as possible. As a fire chief who is a department head has an obligation to come and assume the role as the emergency manager or at the crime scene or critical incident scene whenever there's a fire. But usually the assistant chief or the battalion commander or the battalion chief would represent them at the scene until his or her arrival.
Did we discuss, I know this is kind of going off track here, but did we discuss for the next person in line, would that pertain to them as well? When you say reasonable response time? I mean, how far down the line? What I guess I'm asking is there somebody to step in that case and that would be available immediately?
Yep. And at an incident, whoever is actually the first on scene assumes command until they are relieved by somebody of higher duty. So there's always that structure there that they're very well trained on, that when you're the first one that walks up, you take command of the scene, you do what you need, you call in your resources. When somebody higher than you comes in, you step down from command, you transfer the power to them, and then you go do your thing. So there's always that backup there, and our staff is very well versed in that.
And in each crew has the structure where there's a battalion chief that has been trained in incident command, and their duty and responsibility is, in the absence of the chief, to assume that control until, if necessary, for the chief to be on scene.
As well as captains, lieutenants, and then engineers, and then firefighters. So there's quite a structure that we have that on each crew.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Beyondich. So it has been moved and supported to approve the fire chief job description as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we move to item 8, discussion items. Item 8.1 is approve conducting the National Night Out at the Alcott Park on August 2nd, 2022 from 4 to 7 p.m. And I see there's signs everywhere downtown, so looking for approval for us to conduct National Night Out at Alcott Park.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Beyondich, supported by Councilor Friedlieb. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.2, there is a resolution in your packet to approve the hiring of a patrol officer. There's been a change in the resolution. It's a request to adopt the resolution to hire Hunter Levander as the patrol officer for the city of Virginia.
So moved.
Move to approve by Councilor Johnson. Is there support? Support by Councilor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8.3 is adopt a resolution authorizing the City of Virginia to make application to and accept funds from the Minnesota Department of Iron Range Resources Development Infrastructure Grant Program for Uptown Virginia Redevelopment Project. And the Uptown Virginia Redevelopment Project is the mall area.
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Johnson to approve. Is there support?
I'll support, Mayor.
Okay, support by Councilor Baraboo. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Freely.
Does this require a match from the city? No? Thank you.
The fiscal agent. We're just the fiscal agent, so we're the pass-through.
Thank you, Counselor Freely. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8.4 is adopt a resolution authorizing the City of Virginia to make application to and accept funds from the Department of Iron Range Resources for fiscal year 2023 for the Commercial Redevelopment Grant Program for Phase 2 demolition for Uptown, Virginia.
Also move, Mayor.
Moved by Counselor Baraboo and supported by Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we have a late addition to the discussion items. That's 8.5. It was passed out. It's on your desk. It's a letter asking us to sign on to a letter regarding calling a special session. And this comes from RAMS, so I'm going to ask Counselor Baraboo, were you aware of this letter as a member of RAMS?
Yes, I am, Mayor, and we're getting a tremendously good response from all the different townships, the different cities and stuff to either put together our own or tack on to this letter. It is needed to ensure that these funds that got passed over in no special session, that we get something done so we get the dollars that were promised, or not promised, but we're in the past year of the legislation body at the state level. So I would say we should approve this and send it forward from our city. As many cities and townships and school districts that can tack onto this, the better off we are.
Well, I see that the letter from RAMS, is it represents quite a few communities, and many of these city councils and cities are opting to sign on to this letter. We do have some stake in the game here, particularly with respect to the, I think it's in appropriations bill to give us permission to exempt the city of Virginia from us going against our bond debt with respect to the public safety building moving forward. And so it did pass the Senate and it did pass the House committees and approved moving forward to the full signature of the governor, and that never got there. And so that's just one of the things that we have from a personal perspective, from a city perspective, as well as the other general information regarding the actions being taken for funding sources. So anything more to offer there, Councilor Baraboo?
One of the other things that got waylaid was the local government aid. They were scheduled, and it was pretty much approved both ways to increase local government aid, and that got slashed back to the current level. So that's still in there, and if that can get through, then that would mean additional dollars for the city. That's the other big portion.
A good point, Councilor Baraboo. Thank you. Any other questions or concerns regarding the letter? We've had an opportunity to read it. Councilor Johnson.
Is it the two-sided one with the list of honorables on the back, represent centers? I'm not comfortable because there's no details in this. It literally has a space that says fill in details here. So I'm not comfortable approving something that's not complete at this time.
All right, thank you, Councilor Johnson. Any other questions, comments, or motions? Are there any other questions, comments, or motions?
I would move the letter with the details being added by our city administrator. Is that the plan?
Councilor Freely moves to approve the letter as presented and with filling in the blanks associated with our city and the details with respect to which asked by the Rams on this letter. So it's been moved by Councilor Freely. Is there support? Is there support?
I'm going to support for some more discussion, Mayor.
Support by Councilor Baraboo for further discussion. Further discussion, Councilor Baraboo.
Well, there was an email sent out. I don't know whether all of you got it on this letter. It's a sample letter to the legislature. And that, everybody should have gotten that. It's different than this. It has more detail to it, and that's the letter they're actually talking about. It has to do with, it says Dear Rams membership, and it goes on, talks about the different things, the bonding, et cetera, et cetera. It goes on, editorials and stuff on it, and submit from your region and your cities. Maybe we didn't get it all. I don't know whether we did. Pam, do you remember seeing that letter at all? I got it on the 21st of July.
This
And
is
that came
the,
from, directly from Rams from Ida's office. It's a Word document that we received explaining more. They were looking for each of our 63 member units to consider sending a letter to our state, is what it's asking for from Rams. Now, if we didn't get it, then we still have time to rework this, I'm guessing. 'Cause I don't think they're going to do anything in the next month. I'll ask Ida to resend stuff or whatever.
Pam, do you have an answer for Counselor Bearable?
Maybe you didn't get it, I don't know.
this is the letter that I received last week. Or maybe Monday it was, Britt.
And me too, so. Well, anything more, Counselor Bearable, on this letter here as,
I see they tacked on this portion, but they didn't tack on the first portion, okay.
this is the final letter that.
I guess that is, I assumed that we could put together our own too, if we wanted to, but.
Well, this is a draft letter that was sent out by Ida, the representative for Rams, and they sent it out to all the mayors and discussed it at the mayor's meeting as well. And so,
You guys put out a letter to the mayors, right?
no,
You did not, okay.
no.
I think we're missing the boat here, Mayor. We need to do something. We have an organization that represents 7 counties, and they're all in the same boat with this special session, and there's lots of dollar bills involved with this. I think we're wasting our time if we don't do something. We have 2 lobbyists that work for Rams along with our lobbyists to get this stuff done. It's too important that we sit on our thumbs and not do something with stuff with an organization the size of Rams. It represents 72,000 people in the taconite relief area. And they're all in the same boat because there's no special session. They've got stuff tied up too. It's not just us, and that's what Rams is all about. It's the area, not just the city of Virginia. I think we need to tack on somehow. We've got time to table this and redo our own letter if we want to. We don't have to have their copy of their letter. We can do our own.
Well,
I just think it's too important. We got too much at stake here as a city.
okay. Well, it has been moved and supported, so regarding this particular letter. Anything more on this particular letter here, Counselor Bearable?
No, it was attached to the first one I started to read to you. It was attached at the end of that one.
Right. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion, Counselor Beyondich?
Is this letter, does it need to be turned in by a certain date? I don't see a time
I
on here.
didn't see a date, no.
So
Because
we,
they're not going to do anything until way at the end of the year if they're going to have a special session, what I'm hearing from individuals that are in the legislative body. I don't think anybody needs to do anything with this before the election.
so
That's
this
my
is
opinion.
something that could be properly filled out and presented at committee of the whole for us to approve.
Yeah, I think we should look at this a little harder.
Thank you.
And if people are willing on this council, I'll take back my second on this initial motion.
Okay, Counselor Beyondich, was there anything more you'd like to add? No? Okay, thank you. So there is a motion on the floor and support for this letter. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Freely?
My understanding, this is simply a template for a letter that would be
Yeah.
sent, that would be specified for the city of Virginia.
Correct.
Correct.
That's
So
the intent.
I mean, that's what my motion is for the specific letter from the city of Virginia, utilizing this as a template as such, not this particular document, but one that will be drafted from this template. So we can certainly agree to move forward this template for the letter that will be then drafted to be sent. Does that make sense?
And I think the discussion was it would be sent back to us for approval, final approval. But I'm agreeing with you that just fill in the blanks, allow staff to do it in moving forward. It's a letter asking for a special session. I don't see any hidden agendas here. Okay, it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Bearable, then back over to Councilor Johnson. Councilor Bearable.
Mayor, I'm not saying there's any hidden agendas here, but I just think we need to do some more specifications of the importance of this with actually what needs to happen for the city of Virginia, not only here, but the area also. So that's where I'm coming from. I agree with Councilor Friedland that we need to do something, then bring it back.
Okay, are you rescinding your second then?
Yeah, I'm going to rescind my second and go with the newer version that,
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, and the second has been rescinded. Is there a second on this letter? Is there a second to the motion by Councilor Freelieb to send this letter? Is there a motion by Councilor Freelieb to send this letter and use it as a template moving forward? For the lack of a second, the motion fails. Any other discussion about this?
I would move to direct staff to complete a letter and present it at the committee of the whole in its entirety for approval.
Okay, motion by Councilor Johnson to direct staff to put a letter together for the next committee of the whole meeting for our approval moving forward. Is there any second to that? Is there a second to that? Support by Councilor Friedlieb. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move to item 9.1, committee reports. The committee of the whole meeting that was held on July 19th, 2022. We'll turn this portion over to our city administrator, Britt C. Bennett. Britt?
Thank you. On July 19th, 2022, at 9 a.m., we had our committee of the whole meeting. Mr. Matt Reed, our SCH engineer of record, was present to discuss the bids that were open for the SCADA lift station project. Parsons Electric was the low bidder for that project, and the quote came in just under $200,000. Reed noted that we are still waiting for approval to proceed with the CDBG funding, and another request is being submitted to the IRRB so that we can minimize the city's cost in this project. It was moved and supported to approve the bid from Parsons Electric for the lift station SCADA project in the amount of $199,120, contingent upon receiving the grant funding.
So moved.
Move to approve by Councilor Johnson. Is there support? Support by Councilor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Reed also presented the council with a professional service agreement for the 2023 infrastructure project. He noted that 30% of the plans must be completed for 6th Avenue North and 17th Street South in order to complete the funding request for the Army Corps of Engineers. This contract that he referenced at that meeting would go through the final design of the project, which would allow for the project to be bid in January or February of next year. It was moved and supported to approve the professional service agreement for the 2023 infrastructure project.
Is there a motion?
Also move that, Mayor.
Moved by Councilor Bearable, supported by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Reed discussed the Silver Lake Phase 2 project bids that were open. The low bid was received from Masaiva Bituminous in the amount of $221,125.50. Reed noted that the contractors should be able to set up this year to complete the project, but he will verify that with the contractors. It was moved and supported to approve the bid for the Silver Lake Trail Phase 2 project from Masaiva Bituminous in the amount of $221,125.50. And this is the portion of the trail that runs adjacent or close to from 9th Avenue along 3rd Street to almost the water tower.
Very good, thank you, Britt. Looking for council action, questions or comments?
So moved.
Move to approve by Counselor Johnson. Is there support?
Or for discussion.
Support by Counselor Freely for discussion. Further discussion, Counselor Freely.
So that two-block segment is $221,000?
It's more than that. There's a pedestrian ramp that'll go down to the existing dock over there. It has to be ADA compliant, so it looks kind of like a Z with landing pads. The entrance to the parking lot will be improved for ADA accessibility. The entrance to the Children's Memorial will be approved for ADA accessibility. So there's a lot to it. It's not just the paving of the trail. Culverts, if you walk that trail, you'll notice there's holes in a few of them that culverts have fallen through. So that's going to be replaced.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Mr. Bob Detloff came to the City Council to discuss the landowner permit with the city and St. Louis County regarding maintenance of the Wrench and Trail system. I'm going to defer to Brian Lindsay because Brian Lindsay has been working on this item since the meeting last week.
Mr. Lindsay.
Thank you, Mayor. And I do apologize to the council. I did indicate that we're going to try and get some documents back, but a number of factors have worked against me over the last week. And specifically, the two primary items that I want to identify. One of the parcels that we need to deal with is Torrance or registered land, and so we need a more specific description of a meets and bounds description of the permitted location as it lies on the ground. With abstract property, we're able to take a little bit easier course and just adopt by reference the general location of an easement or license on the ground, but we're not able to do that with Torrance. The second issue that I've been kind of wrestling with is I've been in contact with multiple individuals up at the county because I wanted to confirm with the county before I brought documents back that we were checking all the boxes that need to be checked. I was able to get a hold of Ms. Marinucci from the county, who did a fantastic job of kind of taking control of the county's file and relaying the specific items that they needed in order to complete or check the boxes on their end. As a result of all the work, what I'm requesting from the council is that we can take some action tonight, authorizing a license be entered between the City of Virginia and the Masabit, or in the Trail Committee, and that would be a perpetual license. So what we'd put is what we call a perpetual renewal or an evergreen clause in, that license would renew on a yearly basis until one party gave advance notice that it was being canceled. I assume we would do a nominal consideration, and we would be able to get that in place. The council could authorize that tonight and just direct staff to prepare the documentation and follow through with it and loop the county in.
And so once that gets done, that gives the Snowmobile Trail Committee the authority or the information to move forward and apply for a trail permit.
Correct. So part of the confusion that I ran into, and actually part of what Ms. Marinucci went through with me, is the way that the documents that the Range Trail Committee has been presenting to communities and to landowners, it purports to be an agreement between the landowner and the Trail Committee. However, when you look at it a little bit closer, the agreements have actually been put in place directly between the landowner and the county. And the county says that is not its preferred method of moving forward. The structure that we'll use for this agreement or this license, the license will run between the city and the Trail Committee, and then the Trail Committee will get an authorization or apply for a permit from the county to maintain a recreational trail, which is a common practice with any recreational trail. So by taking that two-step process, the county will have everything that it needs and will have ensured the authority of the Trail Committee to maintain and operate those, and that's essentially what it needs to do its fiscal agent piece on the back, secure insurance and the like.
A smoother and cleaner process.
It is.
Okay, thank you. Your recommendation is, or the option is that we could approve that licensing agreement at this meeting?
Correct. And the specific license that we would want to approve, it would be a license between the Range Trail Committee, between the City of Virginia and the Range Trail Committee to place and maintain recreational snowmobile trails in their current locations on the city parcels.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments from the council? Councilor Baraboo?
Yeah, Mayor, I think exactly the way our attorney has worded that would be the proper motion to move forward with this in his exact words, because that is the legal document to do this. So I'll make that motion.
Okay, a motion by Councilor Baraboo to enter into a license agreement with the Range Trail Committee to place and maintain that trail on the city property. Right?
That's correct. And if the council would like, you could set a yearly consideration for that contract. The truly nominal consideration is $1. I think some cities now are moving to $50 or $100 for an annual license.
Okay, thank you. So that is your motion, and to include the placing of a nominal fee. Did you want to set that fee or wait for the legal documents to come through?
Let's wait till the legal documents. We can add that to that down the road.
Very good, thank you. So it's moved by Councilor Baraboo to move forward with the drafting of a license agreement between the City of Virginia and the Range Trail Committee to place and maintain and use that as a snowmobile trail for a nominal fee to be determined later. Is there support? Support by Councilor Freelieb. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Johnson.
I'm just a little bit confused. Are we approving a document that's not written right now?
Basically, what the proposal is to keep the process moving forward is to approve the concept and direct that the document be prepared and delivered.
And then we will have a final look at it before it becomes officially approved.
Correct.
That I'm okay with. The way I was hearing it was that you were just going to write it and it was going to happen. So with an additional approval, yes, I will be supporting this.
And we still would have to come back and set whatever nominal fee that was with respect to that. So the goal and objective was to move the process forward and for final recommendation and approval by the council. Thank you. And thank you for that clarification, Councilor Johnson. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 9.1E was resolution authorizing to apply for an IRRB grant for the lift station and SCADA improvement project. It was moved and supported at the meeting.
Councilor Beyondich?
So moved.
Councilor Beyondich moves to approve. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Councilor Johnson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
It was moved and supported to approve the managed services agreement with Pantheon for 2022 to 2023 in the amount of $7,871.58.
So moved.
Move to approve by Councilor Johnson. Is there support? Is there support? Support by Councilor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Is this per year? Humor. Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
It was moved and supported to adopt the resolution for the lease of a copier with Metro Sales Incorporated for the Public Works Department for 60 months at $135 per month.
So moved.
Move to approve by Councilor Johnson. Is there support? Support by Councilor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
It was moved and supported to approve the resolution hiring Brianna Henderson as an accounting clerk 3.
So moved.
Move to approve by Councilor Friedlieb. Is there support? Support by Councilor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Jody from the library was present at the meeting to discuss the quotes she received for replacement of the handicap accessible door on the side of the building. This is the final purchase that we need for the Minnesota Department of Education Library Grant that we received back, I believe, in 2018. It was moved and supported to approve the quote for door replacement at the library from Arrow Auto in the amount of $12,292.
Moved by Counselor Beyondich to approve. Is there support? Support by Counselor Friedlieb. Is there any further discussion? Nice, it's coming out of a grant.
It is nice it's coming out of the.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Discussion was held regarding a communication that was received from Lyric Center of the Arts regarding the request to take ownership of the Teen Center building that's at 516 Chestnut Street that they are affectionately calling the Lyric Annex. Based on the request, they're looking at a purchase or a transfer of ownership between 12 and 24 months from now. It was moved and supported to allow staff to devise a plan for the Lyric Center to take over ownership of the building at 516 Chestnut Street, which is currently owned by the city.
Thank you. Move to approve by Counselor Johnson, and is there support? A support by Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? A hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Discussion was held regarding the Wellness Center and the Iron Trail Motors Event Center. After a very lively and spirited discussion, it was moved and supported to schedule the next committee of the whole meeting on August 2nd, 2022 at the Iron Trail Motors Event Center, and to add this discussion item as the last item on the agenda so that everybody can take a look at the buildings and the facility.
So moved.
Moved to approve by Counselor Johnson. Is there support? Support by Counselor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
We went into closed session to discuss some property purchases in our public safety development area. After we came out of closed session, it was moved and supported to approve the purchase of 102.5 8th Street South and the public safety development area.
So move.
Move to approve by Counselor Freely. Is there support?
I'll support, Mayor.
Support by Counselor Baraboo. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
It was moved and supported to approve the purchase of 118 8th Street South, Virginia, Minnesota, and approve the waiver of relocation benefits for that parcel.
Move to approve by Counselor Johnson. Is there support? Support by Counselor Barnzelli. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
No further items from that meeting.
Thank you, Britt. We'll move to item 10, Commission Liaison Reports. Does any counselor have a Commission Liaison Report they'd like to give today? Counselor Baraboo.
Thank you, Mayor. The Public Utilities Commission met yesterday at 3:30 PM. It was a short meeting. There wasn't a lot of business to attend to. Reports, they had a couple of safety issues that they reported, but there was no lost time. They have a policy that no matter how small an injury or whatever it might be, is always reported for safety reasons through the utilities, but there was no lost time. They had an update on the Mesabi Community College STEAM update. The utilities is willing to, the college is looking at conversion from steam because of all the problems they're having over there with steam into the building. And the utilities has agreed to look at a grant process for the college for up to about $200,000 if the college gets the stuff converted to the new system by October 31st of 2023. If not, then it's going to be up to the college to spend the money on their own. They won't get any grant money from the utilities. But if they get it done in a reasonable time, the utilities will be looking at a $200,000 grant for the college. The 3rd Street North Water Project update, they didn't get any bids to start with. That's the one over by the old Natural Harvest Foods, that area, because there's so many, I don't want to say this, infrastructure things under the ground that have to do with fiber and all that stuff over there. But they now have some interested people who want to bid, so they're going out for bids for this project on August 9th, 2022 to still get it finished this year. Natural gas, critical day pricing, there's going to be some type of pricing agreement on natural gas if we get one of these cold winters again that's coming up, and it would be some interesting way of financings like they did last time when we had the bad cold and the utilities picked up the cost to our residents. They're not exactly sure how they're going to work this at this point in time. It'll be coming probably at the next commission meetings. Right now, our utilities has everybody thinks that our electric prices are going to go up because the Minnesota Power is asking for, what, a 17.6% increase in utility rates. The utilities assures us that is not going to happen in Virginia, even if Minnesota Power gets their authorization from the commission, because we have a separate 10-year contract with the Minnesota Power on utility rates. So that's not going to happen. So please, residents, if you hear that we're going to be raising the rates sky high, that is not true. It's a fallacy, because we have that separate contract with Minnesota Power. So it does not include any increases that the Public Utilities Commission would give Minnesota Power. That would be for their private customers, not the wholesale price that we deal with Minnesota Power. So the new package boiler that they put in, that's running, basically the steam in Virginia is working just great. It's keeping up with all the demands, so they're very, very happy with how that's working. So right now, that's all they're running the city off with. The wood boiler as backup if something were to happen to the package boiler. And that concludes basically the utility report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bearable. I have one question, though. So if the college is applying for a grant or
They're applying for it through the utilities.
the utilities applying for a grant on behalf of Mesaba Community College or the college there, and so why is it there's a time limit? If they don't apply by October, then, or they don't get it done by October, or they won't be eligible for the grant. I guess I'm kind of confused why that is.
The utilities has a timeline on their own dollars, because they can use it for something else if they don't, but they would like to help the college. That's basically what it amounts to, Mayor. And I don't know what the other project is. They didn't say at the meeting yesterday, but they put the timeline on. So I don't know exactly. Maybe we'll have to find that out. I don't know the exact reason.
Yeah, would you?
The timeline on the funding that they have from Excel?
Well, it's a fine time on their funding. It's not
Yes, that has to be
resources they have in the bank.
Yeah, so they need time to reallocate that funds if
Okay, I
they have
didn't know
to.
that, Brett. Thank
I
you.
see. Thank you for that clarification, Britt. Councilor Johnson.
So my question is that it's now Minnesota State College. Why are we as a public city entity giving the state money to convert? I have a huge problem with us giving the state money when we still have people in town who are struggling. So I don't know if that's something that needs to be addressed, but the college is a state entity.
Doesn't need to be addressed, Steve, because they are getting all the business when they convert to the utilities, and they'll gain that money back in rates and stuff.
So my point is, Counselor, I have a problem with the City of
They have a
Virginia
problem, but the
entity.
utilities doesn't. Okay, all right.
Just one moment.
Go
Councilor
there,
Bearable.
go there and holler to them and bitch about it.
Councilor
Okay?
Bearable, let's Councilor Johnson finish, and then you can retort. Appreciate that. Thank you. Councilor Johnson?
I just don't think the city entity should be giving money to the state of Minnesota. They have much more money, they have much deeper coffers, they have much more creative ways of getting money to their educational facilities. So, if I need to write letters, I will. I think it's wrong that we're giving money to the state. And I'll remind you that it's not Mesabi College anymore. It's Minnesota State, which is a huge organization that covers most of northern Minnesota. So I just wanted to say that I don't think that my utility that I pay into should be giving money to the state. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you continue, Councilor Bearable, I have a question about authority with respect to, the utility being a autonomous entity. Do we have any authority under the charter to negate them with this process for a grant with the Minnesota State College system. Do we don't have the authority of veto, or I know we can write letters into things, but it's a decision they make autonomously. So is it, so the distinction is it city funds, which is basically, I understand the concept, but what is authority do we have in respect to that? Do we have any information you could provide, at least off the cuff? Brian?
Thanks, Mayor. It raises two issues. Number one is what authority the city has, and my gut tells me, but I don't want to give a full answer. My gut tells me that the utilities may have the ability to do this. The secondary question, though, is how this expenditure, how this outlay of money would fit under a kind of a public purpose expenditure analysis. And so if the council would indulge me, I would like to take a look at those two issues and submit a memo back to the council for further information.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So maybe we could have a motion to direct our city attorney through staff in which to investigate this further.
I would make a motion to ask staff to make sure that what Brian said about looking into the expenditure of public funds.
Okay, that's a motion by Councillor Johnson. Is there support? Is there support? Support by Councillor Beyondich. Is there any further discussion? Councillor Bearable.
I have some retort to go back on this. What do you think a college is if it isn't a public entity? College is a public entity, even though there's tuition, there's all kinds of grants that are given out to colleges. There's money for students that can't afford colleges. And so, you know, this is an issue. What's the difference if we apply for a grant to the state of Minnesota and we get it from them? What's the difference? That's public entity to public entity, and a college is a public entity, especially community colleges. They are. There's all kinds of money that comes from different sources to colleges that have nothing to do with individual payments from students. There's students that go to college basically for nothing because they get dollars. Now, the utility's looking at it long term. They want to keep the business so it doesn't cost other people in the city of Virginia more money when they have to raise rates to keep the steam and the rest, or the gas prices going where they're going. So there's a lot of reasons for this. I suggest if you have a problem, go to one of their meetings, sit there, listen, because this is not done. It's not in stone yet. They have not acted on it formally. This is just what's for information today. So I don't care what you guys do, but I'm not going to support this motion at this time until you find out all that's going on and how it's going on. So simple as that. I sat there and listened, and I didn't think it's a bad deal, because they do have an vested interest in the cost of where they're going to get their revenue from natural gas. And this is part of their cost structure that they're willing to help the college with. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And as the city's appointed liaison to the Department of Public Utilities, your job is to bring back the information and the decisions that are made by the public utilities, which you've done today. Right, but you brought back the report, which was discussion, which triggered some action on the council. So we have moved and supported to direct staff in that regard. You do have that motion, Pam. Further discussion, Councilor Beyondich.
Thank you. I was just going to ask if you could read that motion back to be clear on exactly what we are doing.
Thank you.
Moved by Councillor Johnson, supported by Councillor Beyondich, to allow the attorney to research the expenditure of public funds for the steam conversion at Mesabi College.
So what would it be the proper term, the state?
Minnesota North Mesabi College, Mesabi Campus, Virginia.
There you go.
Minnesota North College, Mesabi Campus, Virginia campus. Yeah. Because there's an Evelyn campus.
All right, thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
so, all right, so the motion, is that accurate? Did you understand? Would you read back one more time? Please read it back one more time.
Okay.
Yes,
Moved
thank
by
you.
Councillor Johnson, supported by Councillor Beyondich, to allow the attorney to research the expenditure of public funds for the steam conversion at Minnesota North College, Mesabi Campus, Virginia.
So this motion is not taking action other than having the attorney look at it. So
Correct.
it's not, we're not really making a decision on that. It's just for the attorney to look into it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Counselor Beyondich. It has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Roll call, please.
Counselor Paulson is absent. Beyondich?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Aaron Sally? Yes. Huffy?
Aye.
Baraboo?
No.
Freedly?
Motion passes 5-1. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Counselor Baraboo, for your report. Any other commission liaison reports tonight? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll go to item 11, department head reports. I'll start left to right. Britt, any other information you'd like to disseminate to us this evening?
A reminder that the 100 block of Chestnut Street will be closed tomorrow, starting at 1 o'clock, so that the Laurentian Chamber can have their business after hours event from 4 to 6 p.m. It is open to the public. Members of Laurentian Chamber pay $10, public pays $15. So please come on down.
It should be a great event. Hopefully it won't rain.
I hope so.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Britt. Brian Lindsay, our city attorney. Brian, anything?
No formal report, Mayor.
Thank you, Brian. Pam, you have anything from your end of the hiring range?
Well,
I'm only teasing. No, do you have
It's already
anything to pass on from the clerk's office?
I was just going to update on the elections. We still have absentee voting going on until August 9th.
Okay, thank you. Do we have our election judges all set to go? August 8th, right?
August 8th, and we will have our council meeting on August 8th. As a reminder. On Monday, correct.
So thank you. And so we have our election judges set?
Yes, everything's set with election judges.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
Our finance director / HR director, Sherry, do you have anything you'd like to disseminate? Other than you're working on the budget diligently?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I am working on the budget. It is very close now. Me and Britt are just gonna have to get the scissors out.
Okay. Trim the page?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. John Sullivan. John, anything, I know there's you got a lot of balls bouncing in your court, but anything to report?
Thank you, Mayor. One brief bit of information. Last week, I represented the city of Virginia at Bewabic City Hall. Senator Tina Smith and her staff had some folks there, and they had a listening session for federal funding, specifically the Farm Bill and then the USDA Rural Development federal programs. And they wanted to get feedback from everybody that was there, and it was very well attended. There were a lot of staff from IRRB. There was staff from cities. Ida Rukavina was there from RAMS. I represented Virginia. We had Hibbing, Buell, Chisholm, Bewabic. There was a lot of folks there. And basically, Tyler Ray, who's our representative from USDA Rural Development on our Public Safety Center, was there. And they wanted feedback on, funding levels, which programs do we like, all that kind of stuff. It was really good. They took a lot of the meeting. I think people kind of wanted to stick around. It was, the discussion was real lively. And what they took out of that, and Ida Rukavina, I believe, is going to be leading the charge. They're doing a housing study, on a survey, and then they're going to talk about housing issues on the Iron Range. And, I did bring up, from our public hearings that we've had for the rental ordinance, how do we provide funding for people that might need to upgrade their properties once there's an inspection on it, for instance. So we did talk about funding mechanisms and how USDA Rural Development and Tina Smith's office and their staff can help us access that a little bit easier. So It was very good. Counselor Fridley asked me, what I thought of it, so I wanted to share that with everyone, and, I thought it was really productive. I think they're gonna have more because it was well-attended.
Yeah, I had, and I think Councilor Beyondich too, have an opportunity to just, pick the brain of Tina Smith's representative, Pete Makowski, at one of the local establishments, and he's provided some additional information as to how things are going. So, John, thanks for attending that, and, we hope they'll be successful in obtaining some funding moving forward, so thanks for that. Okay, any other department head reports? Seeing none? Well, Jody, the library director.
Good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening.
I just want to remind people that next week, on August 2nd, yes, it's August next week, that Llama Llama Storytime is at the library at 10:30, and Cook County Connection will be joining us, and there should be a llama, and I heard a rumor today also 3 baby goats, so could be fun. Hopefully they won't get away. And then also, we have an event on August 4th at the farmer's market, and it's Q&A about how to put up your vegetables as you're harvesting them this fall, and that starts at 2:30 at the farmer's market. So that's the update for next week.
Well, thank you, Jody, very much. Truck Festival is phenomenal. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, Jody. We'll move to item number 12, council reports. Does any councilor have a report they'd like to be giving this evening? Well, first we'll go over to Councilor Johnson, then over to Councilor Bearable. Councilor Johnson.
Mayor, mine's more about a question. With the legalization of 5% edibles, THC in Minnesota at the beginning of the month, I just would like, if I can request staff to look into making sure everything that we have is up to date and current reflects the laws that need to be, if they could do that for, and I'd make a motion to have that for Tuesday's committee meeting.
I think that will trigger some significant discussion. So what's the formal motion, Councilor Johnson?
The motion is to direct staff to look into the legalities and the needs of our city with our policies and any related issues to ensure that we're parallel with state requirements.
Thank you. Is there support for that moving forward? Is there support? Is there support?
I'll support that.
Thank you. Supported by Councilor Friedli. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Bearable.
I don't know if that's enough time to have staff do this, because you got two entities here you got to look at. You got state stuff, but you also have, we're a charter city, so you got to kind of combine the two things, and you got to look at both sides to see if there's conflicts between charter city stuff and state stuff, because there can be. Correct, Councilor? And I don't think that's enough time to get everything together in that short a period of time to balance everything out, especially the way we're basically a charter city. And I think there's some conflicts there if we just do one and not do them together.
Well, I think the motion is to, to discuss that, not to make a decision at the next Tuesday's being number one. And number two, that, there are a lot of cities that are passing ordinances not allowing those to be distributed in their cities. So there's ordinance issues and all kinds of other things that we have to talk about. So I think the purpose of the motion is to trigger that discussion. Councilor, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You had a question for Mr. Lindsay?
Well, I was just asking him if we do have possible conflicts, correct, Councilor?
Yeah, conflicts to the extent that both the state law and our local city ordinances can regulate certain of those substances, so.
That's the only point I wanted to bring up. If you think there's enough time, I don't have an objection to looking at this, but I think it's going to take a little more time than getting it done by next week. But that's my opinion.
Similar to the other ordinance that we took us a while to draft that ordinance with respect to the synthetics and those kind of things, and we're able to take action at our local level based upon that. And I think along the same lines as these edibles as well. So I think the purpose is to enter into the discussion.
And I have no problem because I'm against those edible things anyway from my profession, so don't worry about me. on that if we get the right mix in there.
Yeah,
Because being my pharmacy background, I hate those things, so.
yeah. Okay, thank you. Counselor Freely.
Got to turn my light off.
Okay, you'll be turning it back on shortly. So it has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, any other council reports for this evening? Councilor Bearable.
I have just a quick question here. We're talking about all the stuff with the fire department, fire chief, et cetera. What are our plans, and maybe I've missed it someplace in all these emails and stuff. Are we going to be going out for RFPs, going out for interviews, going out for individuals, for a new fire chief? What are we going to be doing in that? In case we haven't really specified at this point. Or does everybody here just want to promote up? I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
Well, we have a process moving forward.
Do you have a process? How come we haven't seen anything about it yet?
There's
What the process is?
This is a MAPE position, so it
I
has to be,
understand that.
has to be posted, and usually with MAPE positions, we post it both externally and internally at the same time.
Okay, so has that been done already then?
I needed the job description to be approved first.
Okay, so then that was basically my question. Are we moving forward with what we're going to be doing?
Correct.
Okay, I'm happy with that then. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other council reports? Okay, I just have, I have a few items, but I'm just going to mention one, or it's actually two. I want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Renzaglia that I was at the Village Inn with Mr. Renzaglia today, and thank you very much on a personal note for all your kindness moving forward and your support for the city and how we're moving forward. So I thank you for your kind words. Just for the general public, now I know people are frustrated about the potholes, as we all are. I think there was a counselor that ran many years ago that ran a very effective ad showing somebody fishing in one of the potholes on one of the streets. And hopefully those pockets aren't that deep. But the problem that our Public Works is having is that you can't get the hot mix. They're having a very difficult time getting it, and Mr. Rosvit is just as frustrated as all of us are. And we did have a couple of concerns regarding some potholes that may have created an issue for a driver. And our Public Works Director, Mr. Rosvit, got on it right away. And he had to go get hot mix in Superior, Wisconsin, in order to accommodate several areas around town, and he got what he could. So please be patient. We're trying to get it. It's very difficult at this point in time. So we understand that. There are other options that we may be able to employ, but bituminous is the best portion, or the hot mix, I should say, is the best part of it. And so I just want to let everybody know, please be patient, and we'll try to, if you have a big concern or you have damage or whatever happens, don't hesitate to call the Public Works Department. I'll give you that number. It's 218-748-7515. That's 218-748-7515. So thank you very much, and hopefully we'll find some hot mix somewhere. Okay, so any other items that come before the council? Seeing none, we will adjourn to our next council meeting, which is scheduled for Tuesday, August 9th, but we are moving it to Monday, August 8th. Okay, Monday, August 8th, 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. Good luck, everybody. Have a safe evening. See you next time. Good night.